Right, we're working on an additional easement for the storm drain line because of its size and depth and how it affects the surrounding area. But that's looking positive. Hoping in the next few weeks that's resolved, and it'll allow for that project to be entirely complete.
Maybe once you guys get all your paperwork done and the contract agreement signed or something, we could invite him to the relocation meeting and he can meet our team. And then we could also, along with you guys, meet his team and kind of go from there. That works for everybody. There are no objections, that's what we'll do. Okay. Well, congratulations, Mr. Brown. He is a local contractor, so hopefully it works out really well for all of our sake, for that matter. There's no more questions or comments on that issue. We'll move on. Hearing none. Item number 6, local roads improvement coordination. Discussion on the necessary coordination between the city of Porterville, Two River Tribe, and County of Tulare for local roads improvement in the vicinity of new Eagle Mountain Casino.
Yeah, and so this has kind of been an agenda or a placeholder on the agenda for conversations about that. I know that there are active discussions going on as part of the MOU discussions and looking at both near-term and intermediate and long-term road improvements. And I think there was attempts to try to secure dates for the next time for those discussions to occur. I don't think we yet have another date, do we, Julia, for the follow-up?
Not yet. So we need to, I know that I reached out to coordinate, but we haven't heard back. So we need to go ahead and get that done. But Carrie and I will get through it. We'll work through that and get dates circulated.
What I will say is an update that we've begun environmental for the roundabout projects and the relocation or the realignment of Raven Scranton and then west connecting to Westwood. Met with Congressman Valadeo a couple of weeks ago and presented the project to him, and we'll be pursuing an earmark should he be elected, pursuing an earmark for consideration towards that. The request would be for $3.5 million as a federal earmark towards the roads project. Has an estimated cost of about $5 million.
And that's for the surrounding areas.
For the it would be for the roundabouts and the road development of the road system between Westwood and West. Part of that is that we need to have environmental completed by summer of 2020. We call them community opportunity projects.
No, on the environmental or something like that, does it have to come from you guys or does it come from the tribe?
And we've initiated. It's on. We have a consultant under agreement and it's ongoing.
Okay.
We need to have a shovel-ready project, so to speak, summer of next year.
We're very familiar with that terminology.
Jason, anything you want to add in that regard?
You did a great job on that, Mr. Lawless. Yeah, we're working with a firm on the environmental document. We're obviously pursuing a secret document as well as a NEPA document to be able to take advantage of any funding that may come around for such project. We are in the initial study now. We've had a kickoff meeting received this week. First, kind of some initial information from them about project description, things of that nature, what needs to be included in document. Staff is making comments. I received comments from a few staff already this week, and we'll be providing that information to the consultant to turn that around and continue on with the initial study. So we'll keep pushing this project forward as quickly as possible.
Anybody else have any more discussion on the local roads improvement coordination?
Just a question. John, there was, you spoke about the roundabout, but was there a road realignment to bring some access off of the main thoroughfare because of the acquisition of some right of way that might have been challenging? Is that included in this report?
Yes.
Is there a status update on that realignment?
And I know that those are conversations that have been happening between the Peters, am I right? The design for Peters Engineering and city staff in terms of that alignment that would avoid a very costly acquisition of a well. As where west meets Scranton. And then there is a plan for Scranton to continue to be operational while so that we don't lose that access point off of Scranton while other work is occurring. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes,
Okay.
So that's still 9 months out from possible completion or a year and a half?
I think there's going to be interim, where I talked about near term and intermediate and that sort of thing. So there'll be some near term improvements at the intersection of West and Scranton that would fit in alignment of the future roundabout, but that would Scranton would still be functional and provide access from the north, I keep saying south, from the north. And then ultimately for the rest of the project to be constructed without interfering with Scranton, and ultimately for Scranton to be blocked off.
So maybe once engineering is finished and construction starts before maybe the contract is given maybe some early completion bonuses to try to get some momentum early on to complete the project sooner rather than later. Do we ever do that as a city or as PATA?
I'm not aware of it in the city system. I don't know about the problem.
I'd like to try to see,
Certainly
once it
something
gets
we
ready to go, if we can help them maybe mobilize and additional crews.
One of
try to get
the
things open and beautify that part of the project even sooner.
Right.
Thank you.
Who is actually you guys' team that does all that stuff? Is it you and Mike Knight and Javier and Jason?
Are you asking?
Yes.
I don't. My dad's an engineer, but I'm not. That's his disappointment. No, that's coordination that's occurring between Javier, Mike Knight, Jason, and with the ownership and Peters.
Okay.
Mr. Knight shared with me a preliminary design from Peters Engineering that's working on a potential interim measure that would assist in the traffic and the movement of people during the time that the roundabout would be constructed. And so it's preliminary in nature, and everybody's still working on that. But at first sight, at first review, it appears to be a great option, and would be an option that would allow to use property that's already owned by the city of Porterville to be this interim solution, which would have less impacts than some of the other options that were provided prior.
Currently on benefit.
And just to also add to that, at this point in time, we've been talking about this during our update meetings. It's really crucial that the MOU group get the opportunity to review these points and considerations to really get a clear focus and a clear message coming back to the PATA board. I don't want to confuse conversation with decision. Once the parties, the MOU group, make some motion on that. So we do have some progress, and I think it'll be some great opportunities to find a solution in this, and look forward to to staff being able to bring it back to the PATA board for consideration.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Knight. I do recognize the time and the effort staff and consultants go through and engineering groups to get the T's crossed and the I's dotted. It's very significant, and I don't mean to rush that, but a lot of times with construction, you can incentivize early completion. That's all I was hoping to acquire with that question. Thank you.
And maybe this is a good project to be a first time. There's no assurances of federal funding, although I will tell you the congressman was very receptive. And so recognizing that it's a partnership between the city and the tribe, which would be, should he be elected to be our representative come January, he was very, very impressed, having driven by the casino and the vision of that area there and how he could be supportive. The $3.5 million I wanted is, there's kind of that's a recommended request level. Requests are generally asked to be kept between 3 and 4 million apparently. So he was supportive of a community opportunity project for the county and doing farm road. So there was a $3.5 million earmark provided to the county of Tulare for farm to market roads that were identified. So similarly, this is the path that we're considering with them.
Okay. You have any more comments or questions on that item? From anybody? There are none. We'll move on to item number 7, Tulare River Tribe Active Transportation Plan Update. Update on the status of the Active Transportation Plan Update from the Tulare River Tribe by the Tulare County Association of Government.
Actually, just left the meeting on that just before I came up here. So the plan is still in development. The portion dedicated to the on reservation here is complete. And there was three phases that were identified. It is still, the plan is still being developed by Four Creeks for the city, I would say the casino project, sports complex area, and how the Fairplex, or how the Fair casino project and city sports complex can, all interconnect through an ATP type thing. While that plan was going on, there was a project submitted, phase 1, for the tribe portion here on the reservation was submitted. This gets into a technicality of rural versus urban counties, which Tulare County is considered an urban county. And so the scoring thresholds are much higher than for rural counties. TCAG has actually asked for the state to consider reviewing tribes, especially in the case of those that are outside urban areas, to be considered rural, because under the scoring that was achieved for, it received a score of 82. 89 was the cutoff, I would say, for funded projects. In rural counties, 80 or 79 or 80 was the cutoff for rural counties, or considered rural projects, which certainly this gets into some of just how the state considers certain counties, but because we have certain population centers of certain size that were considered an urban county. So the scoring thresholds were higher. So we placed in competition with LA, and you're what we would consider to be more urbanized. So that's the bad news. The bad news is that got a good score, just wasn't high enough to be awarded in an urban county setting. Although there's a tack that's being taken off the next cycle that to consider tribal lands that meet certain criteria to be considered rural, even in urban counties. That being said, the meeting I was in was to figure out how to still make part of the project move forward, even not being awarded by the state. So I have and wanting we give you full packet. You can look at it. So wanted to provide to the, really what TCAG is gonna want, what Ted is gonna want, is what the tribes, in phase one, if you had $2.5 million, what improvements would you wish to proceed on? So there were three components to phase one, which was submitted, and these were the two new pedestrian bridges. Two new pedestrian bridges, one to replace or be side by side with the swinging bridge. And then a second bridge that would connect to the Justice Center. And then there were additional improvements within the here within this area for pedestrian movement and things of that nature. So I guess, and I'm happy to leave some of these copies here. TCAG would really like, and I'm bringing this up because it is a joint project between the city and the tribe in the ATP plan. But really in this component, it really is the tribal council to determine in phase one, if you had $2.5 million, how would it be,
Where do we start kind of thing?
yeah, so as an example, just on phase one, would it be the tribe's interest to have the pedestrian bridges constructed? And then some other improvements within this area, or one bridge done and further, additional. So however, $2.5 million could be budgeted for.
I think,
You don't need an answer today. I wanted to provide that as you.
yeah, no, that's good, because it's options, and that would go before the chairman, the rest of the council. Maybe we, just in my opinion, we coordinate that with what's going on with all of our other projects that are happening on the reservation right now too. And I think we could figure out where we best suit the tribe.
So there's going to be so the kind of the way the ATP funding works. So there's state funding, and then there's what's called MPO funding. So the state sends part of its funding. And this is where the benefit of being a urban county is because we're an urban county. There's $8 million that are coming to Tulare County for ATP projects across the county, and to help fund projects that were not funded at the state level. So there are, and this is one of the projects, given the score, it received a good score. Obviously, there's not enough. Well, they're looking at doing probably 2 or 3 projects across the county. This would be one that TCAG would like to do, but there will be a call for projects in December, next month, for the local monies that will close in January with award in February. But given the score that this project received, and wanting to have some real improvement, not just the plan, but actually have improvements constructed here is a priority for Tasmania.
Okay.
So Four Creeks is going to be putting some pencil to paper on those options within the education center gymnasium. It talks about the gateway treatment to alert drivers, reorient crosswalk, install flashing beacons, put numbers to that, so that the tribal council can say, we'd like to spend $2.5 million this way. It's just a report. I just wanted to leave this with you, and I have additional copies here that I can leave for. And Mr. Small said he'd be happy to come to a tribal council meeting if that would be helpful to, as would I, of course.
Yeah, and I believe Chairman Emeritus, Mr. Garfield, was working with you guys on this.
Correct.
So. And he just happened to have his day off today. And we were just chatting about that. He got him a long weekend. So we will definitely give this to him.
I have additional copies here, Your Honor.
I know he'll be happy to see that. Is there any more comments or concerns?
Other, like I said, the plan is still under development for the casino sports complex area and how those two facilities and the fairgrounds would all interface together. So plan's still in works, but this is his interest, really wanting, Ted's interest in PK wanting to see, the actual concrete improvements or those improvements, but most importantly, and he would want, and he would, this needs to be what, out of this, what do you want to see done? And we're not gonna make those decisions, that needs to be the tribal council, and knowing you got $2.5 million report.
Do you guys have I don't know, a draft of what your plan is with the sports complex, the casino and the, as you just talked about?
There's been just a field survey that was done, field walk is what I would call it, and so now is Fort Creek's putting together suggested options.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything?
The priority of this was to get the part done up here. That was a priority. So that was fast tracked. Application was done. Appreciate a lot of folks' support to make that happen. That was not an easy task, and it got there. And certainly disappointingly, like I said, if Slater County was a rural county, you would have received $8 million. But we're not. So that being said, let's go back to phase one that was submitted, and what's at least a part of phase one that we can that they can support. But again, it's the one that's defined by the tribe.
Okay. Moving on to other matters. Do we have any other matters? No, you have any other matters?
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
How about any of the staff?
But good to connect with all of you again.
Nothing additional more than that.
And the next meeting date is scheduled for December 16th, 2022. Everybody okay with that? Everybody's good with that at this time?
See.
If everyone knows Friday afternoon meetings, I guess.
Anyone interested in looking at a day other than Friday? I'll put it out there.
I think how would Thursdays work after the relocation meeting? Usually. Those are usually open for us, huh? What about for you guys? I know something. Does that work for you guys? I know everybody Fridays kind of, I mean, look, we have Veterans Day this Friday.
Yeah, I think as long as we're not on an agenda Thursday, that's always if we can schedule around that, so that would mean Thursdays that coincide like the third Thursday of the month.
And that's what we have right now, it's the third Friday of the month.
That's that works for me from a staff perspective. So.
Since we're reorganizing, might as well.
The president said.
If Thursday works for everybody, I know Friday is kind of hard. And there's a lot of times where everybody wants to get out of here and get on with their weekend. So, but if Thursday works, I'm okay with Thursday.
What that is like 3 o'clock, is that still a good time?
Yeah, 3 to 5. So,
Mhm.
do we need a motion on that, or everybody just okay with?
We'll formalize it at the next meeting. We'll do a formalization since it's not on the agenda today, but we can do that. We can bring an item back just to formalize it. But in the meantime, you can go ahead and schedule your next meeting for that day. That's
So
no
it's
problem.
brought to my attention that that is an agenda Thursday for us. So could we request the meeting?
Yeah. That would probably actually be better when it is getting into the holidays also, so December 8th will be the next meeting. Then we'll go from there.
there would be a conflict with the Eastern Thule GSA,
Oh,
I believe, for that meeting.
of course there is. On the eighth. Well, when we can, and that also makes a difficulty for some.
Let me double check that real quick. Give me just a second.
Mike, is their meeting usually the
I have it
second
confirmed.
Thursday of the month? Is that what it is?
It may be on the first. There was just a discussion about it being moved. I'm just gonna double check and make sure it didn't get recorded. Is that? If it's on the first, we're good. I'm just checking a couple notes real quick. Just a second.
Let's pencil in December 8th and then we'll.
It should be fine. It should be fine. I was just making sure that didn't conflict with the ETGSA. False alarm, John.
Well, with that being said, that is everything on the agenda. We moved through pretty quickly. You guys just spent over $7 million. But thank you. We definitely need the retention basin done. So we have a motion to adjourn.
Also move. Also move.
Second.
We can just adjourn the
Yeah.
meeting.
You can do a voice vote on that one. Since you
Meeting
don't
will
really.
be adjourned at 4:05 PM.